Welcome. Today is an invitation that is one to relax so deeply, so completely and absolutely, because I am. I is found. I already is fully established as wholeness, as completeness, as perfection, as heaven. I can never leave thee is such a profoundly soothing recognition, revelation, realization. Let's rest there today. Let's start where we mean to finish, where reality is. I am found. I can never leave thee. Perhaps hear these words, allow these words within to soothe you to your core. Let's rest here for a minute before we get into our reading today. I will never leave thee. I can never leave thee. Now let's take a moment. And if there's anything that was revealed for you, write it down on your template so that you can come back to this. You might like to think of this as the journey of 1,000 miles, one step in illumination after another. This reality that which is the timeless, the changeless, the immovable, the unmoving reality of I, awareness, in consciousness, the omnipresent substance as supply and activity is all that there is, impenetrably, imperturbably. So let's pick up in our reading where we left off, recognizing that the body that is right here, the body being all that is, universally and specifically, is that which is eternal, the one substance as all, as everything that is consciousness. Remember, we're not getting caught up in dogma here or any particular word. That which is all, known as God, the what, not the who, consciousness, omnipresent consciousness, and that which is omnipresent is omnipotent. And being whole and complete infallibly, it is also omniscience as omniactivity. So we're using language that, remember, sounds dualistic, but we stand in the truth. To be clear, our business is to be deliberately, consciously aware and clear as we live, move, and breathe in truth, so that we experience tangibly the manifested fact of reality. No longer deluded, deceived in the illusory dream state of otherness and attaining and achieving, but where our fulfillment already is perfectly established right here where I is. And remember that I is not personal. I is not special. I is equally impersonal and available to all. In a way that we don't understand equality when we're deceived by the idea of separation. And when we've accepted that, we're under a spell of misidentification. just like the law of maths doesn't pick and choose who it's available to. Anyone can use math who learns it. That's why our business here is to simply learn how to see and live aright. So you realize that in speaking of the bodily activity, we're referring mainly to that which the world of appearances in this chapter that we're reviewing calls the flow of blood, the flow through so-called veins and arteries. But there are other areas of this body in which the activity can seem to be obstructed. So we've spent the last several days reviewing the circulatory system and understanding how that relates to truth in specific fact. There is no body, there is no obstruction, there is no closed system. Omnipresence, being the law and principle of life, makes that absolutely nothing. Our business is to know the truth. And that is why we experience and see healings and really understand what Ramana Maharshi was saying when he said, the greatest service that we can render the world is to know thyself. And he was relatively recent in a very long line of way showers who understood know thyself. Now, that's not know thy personal self. That's got nothing to do with reality. Personal self that is mired in misidentification is not knowing thyself. We don't improve and illusory character. We don't deal with nothingness. We know reality. That's thyself, the one self, reality, omnipresent reality. For instance, the activity called breathing can appear to be obstructed. The activity called digestion or elimination can also be said to be obstructed. And the timing for some of the questions that have come in overnight, which we'll get into at the end of this, really speak to this. And it's no mistake. It looks like a coinky-dinky, as we like to say, but it's no accident. There's nothing random going on here. We will address this in profound practical terms. Living truth, living reality, knowing truth, transcending anything that looks like a problem because problems don't exist. The so-called veins and arteries are but two of many. Now we've also invited a broader perspective for every conversation that we have. So anything that looks like a blockage, anything that looks like interference to flow is relevant. Again, we have some questions regarding that, which we'll get into a little bit later. So the veins and arteries are two of many, even innumerable, channels in which as bodily activity functions. You could consider the aspect of body called the stomach, the lungs, the head, the heart as channels through which this bodily substance flows. And of course, any eliminative aspect of the body would be also considered a channel. Now that we've used this obnoxious terminology, and it is obnoxious, we can again speak more authentically of the body that is reality. So everything that suggests the existence of something other than that which is fact is illusion. We don't deal in illusion. We don't deal with nothing. But we're coming to understand how to live aright. That's the only thing we have going for us. We can learn. We've just learned a bunch of nonsense. We haven't learned how to live in alignment with how life actually works, which you can see would be a real issue. And of course, everyone experiences that. Anyone who thinks there's a problem is deceived. And we needn't be. There is no heaven in deception. But heaven is here now, nearer than breath, closer than hands and feet. The gift of I is a fully given, fleshed out, established, with nothing more to do, gift, a real gift. No strings attached. Bit rare in our world, of course. No strings attached. Consciousness supplies awareness. I is the name that awareness gives itself. So no matter what aspect or channel of the body may seem to be obstructed, you will now perceive that any obstructed activity is utterly impossible. There are various aspects of truth, as stated throughout the week that we've been exploring this, which reveal how it is and why it is that every channel of the body is completely unobstructable. We laid the foundation. We've built on that foundation. So we're very clear here. For instance, because this entire body consists of consciousness, there is nothing solid that can obstruct its action or activity. Then, too, we can recognize the substance of the so-called channels through which the substance of the body flows is also the substance that is the entire body. Why? Let's be clear here. Let's point this out. Why? Use your template. What's the insight that's being pointed to here? Remember, we're not picking up information. In fact, we want to put it all down to reveal that which is right here. That doesn't require an encyclopedia. It doesn't require a library. It doesn't require years of study. And so many of you are so delighted to put down the decades of truth study, the denominations, the dogma, the ways, the language. Put it all down. It's unnecessary. And in fact, it really continues to layer on the thick veil, the you know, put put more layers over that which we're actually wanting to know, that which I already actually am. So why? Why is it? I bet you've already written it down. These channels consist of the very same essence as that which is said to flow through these channels. Omnipresence, the one substance. Don't judge from appearances. Remember, that's really what gets everyone and keeps everyone in a pickle. Who's judging from appearances? Who's continually taking personal thought? Who's valuing thought whatsoever rather than the fact of the I that is indivisibly, indissolubly omnipresent? And because the very same essence as that which is said to flow through these channels is not enclosed, cannot be confined within any channel. There's no closed system anywhere. I already am. Remember, we're not paying attention to the dreamed character and its dream scenario. I have never been anything other than what I is. Put down everything you are aware of to reveal the light in which you are indivisibly one. The only distinction between the channel and that which is surging and flowing around, through, and as the ever moving essence itself, omnipresence, in other words, is that of the various rhythmic tempos. And, of course, there is nothing about these rhythmic tempos which can possibly constitute a solid, confining enclosure. Belief is nothing at all. And you can probably see why judging from appearances really maintains the deception. If we were to accept the evidence that is produced through the belief of separation and misidentification, we would believe there's a whole bunch of different substances and there are definitely closed systems. And there's so much variability. Where do I start? So judge not from appearances. Stay at the level of reality. Stay with the facts. Stay with that which is. Just like you know that if you go rogue with your mathematics equations and don't use the principle, you don't end up with the right answer, do you? And that can cause all sorts of chaos. Unfortunately, the typical, what we call human life, is chaotic because no one knows the principle. That's not true. Few there be, but very few there be. Then, too, of the utmost importance is the fact that the consciousness which comprises this entire body is indivisible. Indivisibility. Such an important word that doesn't get enough airplay outside of these sessions, of course. Indivisible means omnipresent. There are no divided parts of this body because of the fact, the scientific fact. This isn't a philosophy, this isn't a theology. The fact of indivisibility points to the wonder, the majesty of that which is. And that which is that which you are already, fully established. Neither are there separate or separated functions or activities, but this word indivisible has a far greater connotation than just the inseparability of the essence in form, which is this body. This body, all that I am and all that is absolutely inseparable from the entire boundless universal body, infinite, eternal. That's what I is. That's what you are. There is never any activity going on in, through, or as this body that is not going on in, through, and as the universal body that you are. That's already the fact. We don't make it so. We don't work from the idea that there's a bit of a mess to clean up. There is a truly existing separate self that needs to work its way to become one. Once you know the trick, you can't be tricked anymore, can you? That is why you know the tangible reality of perfection increasingly, miraculously. So you can see that we have again arrived at the fact of your boundless, universal, omniactive being. I already know so many of you have caught the pointing, and it's landed. That which is all cannot be different from what I am. They're one and the same. The fact is, I and the Father are already one. Remember to pause if you need to, reflect and contemplate the truth. Make your notes. Whatever questions arise, send them in, or we can get into them in our private sessions. It is in this revelation, beloved, beloved, because love is all that there is. You are the love that is the universe. It's not contained in situations, in things. You are that. It is in this revelation that you perceive how it is and why it is that your entire being, whether perceived from the universal or from the specific standpoint, is this unobstructed universe. living this truth. As we so often say in commandment number 1, which sounds like such archaic language and irrelevant to our modern day. So let's be clear, what we're speaking to is know the truth. And you can't be tricked by a mistake. You can't even see them ultimately. In light, we see light, from light, as light. That's what Ramana Maharshi was telling us. The only true service we can render the world is to know thyself. In realizing there's nothing to help, that's the helping. No one to save, that's the saving. Truth eliminates any perception of problems. Our business is simply to be consistent in truth, to live truth and expand in truth, to live literally the greater works and expand in the higher mysteries. Yes, it is the fact that you are this indivisible, omniactive, free, unobstructed activity in, through, and as every aspect of your body.